During the budget vote of the Department of Communication in May 2018, we committed to return to the public regarding plans on the various commitments, including the review of the broadcasting, so as to create a new vision for the sector in this rapidly changing environment. It is for this purpose that we are hosting this session this morning, so that we can share with members of the public and industry our plans moving forward as promised. We do understand the anxiety around this policy as it charts the new frontiers of our broadcasting landscape after 20 years. As many of you can remember, a lot of work has been carried out towards the review of our ICT policies prior to the split of the department, giving birth to the now separate departments of Communication and the Department of Telecommunication and Postal Services. This work started with the withdrawn Public Service Broadcasting Bill in 2009. A green paper was released for public comments in 2014. The discussion paper and the recommendation report released early in 2015. In 2014, we issued the General Notice 1003, Gazette 38206, which invited interested parties and members of the public to submit issues for consideration. Whilst the final National Integrated ICT White Paper was approved by Cabinet in September 2016, it excluded broadcasting, inevitably due to the split of telecommunication, postal services, as well as broadcasting. This meant that the broadcasting policy had to be finalized separately. By all admission, these are critical policy processes that touched all these sectors of ICT, of which broadcasting is one part. Therefore, we are not going to replicate these policy processes, but build on them instead. Not only does the future investment in the industry hinge on this policy, we further need to redefine the role of our broadcasting system with Vision 2030 of the National Development Plan pertaining to building social cohesion, deepening democracy at the top of our priorities. Equally, the stark realities of youth unemployment requires us to build a resilient industry that can attract investment, both local and foreign, so that our youth's creative capacity can be unleashed. We therefore have to move with speed in finalizing this new policy. The following are the emerging policy issues. As contained in the issues paper we released recently on our website, throughout the processes listed above, the following issues have consistently been raised, including but not limited to the following: the logic of maintaining a three-tier broadcasting system, given the regulatory incapacity to enforce it; ownership and control rules amid South Africa's drive to attract investment; the capacity of the regulator to regulate the sector; the need to strengthen the free-to-air platform, particularly the SABC as a public broadcaster; the continual carriage of public broadcasting channels by subscription broadcasting services, and the impact on competition and the three-tier broadcasting system; the dwindling and balkanization of our local languages on broadcasting systems, including addressing access to broadcasting services by people with visual and hearing impairments; the skills, capacity, and the human resource requirements of our country for the fourth industrial revolution; and lastly, new institutional arrangements to support the new policy environment consistent with the National Development Plan 2030, the Presidential Review Committee Report 2012, and SOE's reform across government. The issues paper containing responses from various stakeholders on these issues, which henceforth will be at the core of our policy review process, will be released in the next 2 days via the website of the Department of Communication. As committed in our annual performance plan, our plan is to submit the white paper for cabinet approval in the fourth quarter of this financial year. To achieve this plan, the process will be as follows. Our intentions are to start with the review of public broadcasting. This is not to downplay the importance of other issues confronting the industry, and specifically the other two tiers of broadcasting, namely community and commercial. However, public broadcasting remains a significant source of information, knowledge, and entertainment for the majority of citizens. Again, as noted from the various jurisdictions, issues pertaining to the public require a separate discussion process if they have to be dealt with in a comprehensive manner to address the systematic and historical issues. This underlies the importance of public broadcasting to South Africa as a developing country. For this purpose, our review process will commence with the review of the public broadcaster and the frameworks that govern it. We have already issued a notice inviting stakeholders to submit issues for consideration on matters pertaining to its mandate, funding model, including TV license fees, governance and accountability measures. The issues of an appropriate funding model of the public broadcaster, for instance, has been deferred for too long, and we hope this focused discussion on the public broadcaster will finally resolve it. The due date for public submission on the notice is mid-July 2018. This will be followed by a colloquium in August 2018, where a report from the public submission will also be presented. The outcome of these two processes will be integrated into the broader policy review, which will be published for comments in the third quarter of 2018, thus allowing enough time to obtain cabinet approval in the fourth quarter of this financial year. In this regard, we wish to invite the active participation of the sector in helping create a new vision for the broadcasting sector in our country and for future generations. As government, we cannot succeed in doing the above alone without sector participation and partnerships. The demands of the fourth industrial revolution requires us to build and maintain collaborative partnerships with the sector for us to bridge the digital divide and overcome social inequalities, unemployment, and potential job losses. The reskilling of our young people for the fourth industrial revolution is inevitable as prioritized by Vision 2030. On digital terrestrial television, although this is not part of our broadcasting review process, many stakeholders expect us to say something about the DTT project and provide clarity and the way forward. The numerous project challenges besetting the migration of our broadcasting system from analog to digital are well known. This project has since been a stop and go, resulting in South Africa not meeting the International Telecommunications Union deadline of June 2015. I've been informed by our signal distributor, Centec, that Mnet has successfully migrated to digital and as a result have switched off all their analog transmitter sites. We deem this to be a significant milestone and therefore commendable as it releases high demand spectrum for mobile broadband services to our people. While duly acknowledging some of these achievements, the reality is that we are behind schedule as the 2015 ITU's analog switch-off target has been missed by South Africa. This means that South Africa's analog broadcast signals are currently not protected from any possible interference by ITU. As this project continues to be delayed, it has serious implications both for government, industry, as well as for our own citizens. Having considered all the challenges, a revision to the current delivery model is inevitable if we are to accelerate the country towards the now belated analog switch-off. I can confirm that we have reviewed the model to drive the project on the following principles: partnerships and collaboration with industry, efficiency and affordability by building on existing infrastructure and distribution networks, inclusive participation, transparency and accountability, and lastly, the centrality of the SABC in the process. We will reveal the revised model upon consultation with Cabinet in due course. Consistent with the spirit of the 2008 Cabinet-approved Broadcasting Digital Migration Policy, government cannot do it alone. Government requires collaboration and partnership with industry and the public so as to share resources, skills, and expertise. In the meantime, we hope to engage in an aggressive strategy to distribute the existing stock of set-top boxes in the identified provinces for migration. In the next few months, our plan is to leverage on the support from the Free State provincial government to switch the province off by the end of December 2018, allowing Centec to switch off all the analog transmitters in the provinces. This will save us a lot of dual illumination costs for Centec. We therefore appeal to the people of the Free State to start applying for the subsidy or purchasing the digital-enabled equipment so that when the date of the Free State switch is announced, they are ready and enjoy uninterrupted transmission. We have already started to build a dedicated project management office outside of the structure of the Department of Communication. We hope industry will help us in sharing some of its resources and expertise in support of our efforts. We are also pleased to announce that Mr. Alred Dreyer has been appointed to lead our PMO and the entire DTT project in South Africa. Mr. Dreyer's knowledge in the project is unparalleled, as he recently led a similar project in neighboring Namibia with great success. And he's not a newcomer in this particular sector. Through the support of the department, he will be assembling his own team, and as a team, they will be engaging the industry. We sincerely hope that the industry will give this team all the support because it is in the interest of all of us, government and industry alike, that this project is completed as soon as practically possible. In the next few days, we'll also be announcing a revised advisory council which will advise the minister on the various issues, including the analog switch-off plan for the country and strategies to increase DTT uptake by the households and support the PMO. The council shall include representatives of both government and industry to ensure that the project is driven in a joint manner in the spirit of inclusivity, notwithstanding also the inclusion of other strategic departments such as the Department of Trade and Industry, Telecommunication, Science and Technology, as well as those that are involved in the area of peace and stability. We have noted the developments around the successful trials conducted by Centec and other industry players in recent months. Based on the report from the trials, we equally share the belief that South African broadcasting market is fertile for the introduction of digital radio. For us, this is critical given the congestion of the FM frequencies in regional markets such as Gauteng. An introduction of digital radio will allow industry growth and increase diversity within the industry. We acknowledge the stakeholder engagement processes currently engaged by the regulator, ICASA, on this matter. To pave the way for the introduction of digital radio in South Africa, we will in the next few weeks issue policy directive allowing ICASA to initiate a licensing framework for digital radio in South Africa in earnest. As drawn from Parliament's ad hoc committee's report, the SABC is not in a stable state, both financially and organizationally. It is our pleasure to announce that it is gradually on a recovery path. The board has recently finalized the appointment of the Group Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Financial Officer. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate both the new Group CEO Mr. Madoda Mxakwe, and the CFO Ms. Yolande van Biljon. Wish them well in their responsibility and are confident that they will invest their skills in turning the SABC around. These appointments follow that of the Chief Operations Officer, who was appointed earlier this year. We hope this will go a long way in stabilizing leadership and governance at the organization. The 2008 Cabinet-approved Broadcasting Digital Migration Policy has identified the SABC as a leader in driving DTT in South Africa. With the 2019 general elections looming, many South Africans, particularly in rural areas, will be relying on the SABC as a public broadcaster in providing them with information. Therefore, the SABC has to be in a strong position to accomplish these tasks. On our part, we have established a joint turnaround team comprising the Department of Communication, the Department of National Treasury, and the SABC, led by a turnaround specialist, to help in developing and implementing a turnaround plan for the organization, including dealing with systematic issues that continue to inhibit the SABC's performance. We are working around the clock with National Treasury to stabilize the financial position of the SABC so that it can meet its financial obligations to its creditors and acquire new content. Equally, this is a task that requires the involvement of the public, who have to pay their TV license fees so as to ameliorate the funding challenges the public broadcaster currently faces. This is important as we review the public broadcaster in the medium to long term through the policy processes outlined earlier. As mentioned earlier, during our budget vote speech in Parliament, the end of the current administration is near. Ours is not to promise a lot of things, but a few things that are realistic, but equally setting a good foundation on which the next administration will deliver. The measures announced this morning are critical on this path, and we require your support as the media in relaying this information to the public, especially on the DTT. Once more, in all the above measures, we wish to emphasize the importance of partnerships for the sector to succeed and thrive. I thank you.